and for the people of the UK, and we want to see this fast. I'm going to whiz through about nine problems that we've identified with cars in Leeds, but I first want to point out that the vision of a car-free city that we have is not one where there are absolutely no cars at all. The Car Free Leeds campaign brings to life a positive case for fewer cars in Leeds streets and move away from mass private car ownership. And we want to work with communities that are currently blighted by traffic and air pollution to co-design changes to local streets, take space away from cars and give it back to people and to nature. We recognise that there are many people, including disabled people, who cannot get around without cars. And so our aim for fewer cars on the roads hopefully means that there's more space for those who must drive to get around easily, and also just make Leeds a better place for everyone. At the same time, we want to encourage and inspire local decision makers to raise ambitions and accelerate change at the city level. So the problems with cars in Leeds, these are not exclusive to Leeds. I'm sure you're already aware of these. I'm just going to quickly run you through some facts and figures that are Leeds specific. So the climate emergency, transport emissions are the largest source of CO2 emissions in the UK, and private cars are the biggest single source of transport emissions. In 2019, a couple of months before the UK government, Leeds declared a climate emergency, and 9 in 10 residents do believe that the earth is warming due to human activity. They believe that they want to limit their own impact on the environment, and that's a personal priority for people. And they also believe that becoming carbon neutral should be a city priority too. Collisions over the past few years, the number of people killed or seriously injured in roads on Leeds has risen. In 2019, about 20 people were killed and over 300 were seriously injured. Toxic air, again, hundreds of people die in Leeds per year due to causes that are linked to high levels of pollution. 1 in 22 adult deaths in Leeds are linked to high levels of non-exhaust emissions like particulate matter. And before lockdown, Leeds was one of the UK cities breaching legal limits of particulate matter, and we boasted the most polluted street outside of London. Noise pollution as well is recognised as the second largest environmental health risk in Western Europe, behind air quality. And inactivity crisis. In recent decades, we've engineered physical activity out of our daily lives. We've given stuff over to machines, cars and tech, and we need to redesign physical activity back into our everyday lives through walking, cycling, and using public transport. These are the easiest and most affordable ways for us to get around, be more active and lead healthier lives. Public space. Leeds city centre is pedestrianised, and that's recently been expanded too, which is great. But we still have a high number of green space deprived neighbourhoods, and we all know how important green space is. Especially this past year, it's been a real point of importance to everyone. We currently give over swathes of public land to the storage of private cars, which sit unused for like 95% of the time, and there's just so much more we could be doing with that space. Inequality and social justice. 1 in 4 areas in Leeds are ranked amongst the 10% most deprived areas nationally, and the most deprived areas of our cities have the lowest car ownership rates, yet the people who live there are the ones who suffer most from toxic air, noise, stress, congestion, and all of the dangers that come with traffic. And it's from other people driving through. Congestion. We're in the top 10 most congested urban areas in the UK, and we also have 2 of the most congested roads in the UK. Social isolation is quite hard to say, but we know that where traffic volumes are very high, residents report limited social contact with other people. They have fewer friends and acquaintances than their sort of lower traffic counterparts. And often people perceive more road danger in their neighbourhood as a result of traffic conditions on their street. And this has numerous effects, like the degree of independence that are granted to children because of this. So overall, there are a lot of problems with cars in Leeds, and there is a personal will for people to do something. We need to push people in the right direction. There needs to be a political will to make these changes happen. So quickly talking about what's already going on in Leeds. Leeds City Council recently released their draft transport strategy to become a city where you don't need a car, which is an ambitious strapline, but the actual strategy itself, there's definitely room for improvement. The clean air zone was stopped before it even began, which I kind of understand the reasons why, but air quality is not something we should be scrimping on. There are car club locations all around the city. The active travel neighbourhoods and cycling infrastructure that was put in last year were great, even though they were met with a bit of controversy around them. There are EV trials for organisations to see if their fleets could go electric, and there are also e-bike trials for residents too, and there are lots of charging points around the city. Parklets, I believe there's just one parklet in the city centre, and that was a business-led parklet. I think Manchester has a lot of parklets, and I would love to hear from other people on this, so please get in touch with me if you know anything about Manchester parklets. School streets. So Leeds has got 14 school streets, and Possible recently released a report that actually found about half of Leeds schools could be suitable for a school street. And I'll show you a little flow chart later on about that. And there are also a handful of air quality management areas in Leeds too. There's also loads of climate groups in Leeds, which is fantastic. When it comes to this particular campaign, we know that we need to engage with more than just climate groups on this issue. So that was a very quick whistle-stop tour of Leeds. I'm going to talk to you about the Car Free Leeds campaign now. So one of the first things that we want to do is focus on parklets. We want parklets to become a widely recognised means of creating pleasant spaces for all, and we want to make it a very simple process for residents to apply for temporary and permanent parklets, similar to like a residents parking scheme. We want to create resources to help residents through the process, from a photographic history of parklets to developing a how-to toolkit, showcasing case studies, and yeah, we think they're a really great sort of grassroots initiative to reclaim space. We also want to do some citizen science surveys about who wants the traffic back. So active travel neighbourhoods, low traffic neighbourhoods, places for people. These things came in last year and they were met with a lot of controversy, but we know that the benefits of them are great. You just need to take time and get used to them. So what we want to do is to survey people who live near historical modal filters, the ones that you probably don't even notice anymore, they've been there for so long, and ask them literally, like, would you want the traffic back? How would you feel if we removed these? And you know, use that data to supplement the campaign. We hope that they'll say no, we don't want the traffic back and we don't want to remove, but we'll have to wait and see. We also want to do some traffic counting by using little Telram traffic counters in places in Leeds where they're not already, where traffic monitoring is not already happening. We've got one running in Chapeltown at the moment, and again, we'll analyse and use the data to help make the case to relevant authorities to redesign streets and change how we travel. The clean air zone, as I said, was scrapped last year, so around the anniversary of it being scrapped is a great opportunity to start conversations about the importance of clean air and the way that people travel. And so we want to demonstrate to people how that is possible and show them through doing car-free pledges, support them, give them advice, show them how easy it can be to do the school run, a daily commute, weekly shops, all that kind of thing. We also are going to look at future filling stations, is what we've called it. It's essentially, with the UK phasing out petrol and diesel cars, there's a great opportunity to do something amazing with the land currently occupied by petrol stations. So we're going to audit the petrol stations and find out how many there are, how much land they currently occupy, and then support local groups to register that as assets of community value. This gives them added protection from future development. So we want to also facilitate this with envisioning exercises and workshops and see what else these things could be used for. This photo, for example, that used to be a petrol station, but it's now a really great community space. There's a book club, flower shop, music venue, cafe is really wonderful. And we just want to get people talking, you know, not talking about something makes it much easier to ignore. And we want to showcase car-free related stories in a creative way with local art groups and encourage people to change how they talk and think about travel. Young people are a really important group to get involved in this topic because they are the most vulnerable road users, but they are quite often the ones who are not driving a car themselves. So I want to get them talking and do some sort of panel discussion, perhaps on the radio, and get their views for them to learn more and talk about it more, and then hopefully talk to their family about it a bit more and get things moving. And these are just a couple of key dates that we'll be working on as well. I don't have anything specific planned for them just yet, but they are in the works. A big part of our campaign is to work with other organisations that are already doing great stuff on the ground in the city. And if you know of any organisations you might think are interested in getting involved or talking to me, please do point them in my direction. And finally, just going back to the school streets thing, something that all of you here today could potentially do now is use this flowchart to look at your schools, your kids' schools, or other family members' schools, and see whether your school street is suitable for. See whether your school is suitable for a school street. As I said earlier, about half of schools outside of London are suitable for a school street, and it's a very quick flowchart that you can use, and then use it to talk to your PTA, teachers, local council, MPs, write to them and see if there's anything more that can be done. And yeah, that was a very, very quick whistle-stop tour. So thank you so much for listening. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's really great, Hannah. I mean, I think, you know, the really important thing is, or one really important thing is what you said right at the start, that, you know, car-free city isn't a city without cars. It's a city where essentially you have the freedom not to have a car if you want to. So I think, you know, there's so much information and ideas that you've expressed in that. I can see the chat's already quite animated around it. Just in terms of timekeeping, we are on a very, very tight timetable tonight. So what I'm going to suggest is that you dive into the chat and join the discussion there. People, if anyone's got any questions, any comments, then get Hannah in the chat. But